Hello, my name is Inigo Howlett, and about a week ago, I was pretty thrilled to get your ad looking for a reality television host on my Ecolog listserv. Because your program sounds pretty interesting. You know, it's got the usual exotic locations and unusual species, but it also has a deeper element, talking about the way those species interact with their environment, how their environment changes them, how they age, how they grow older. Anyway, this ties in with some of my own interests, both as a biologist and as an environmental scientist studying the interactions between people and their environment. As a type 1 diabetic, I get old a little bit faster than the background population. Anyway, I wanted to show you a couple of clips that I've made, mostly involving crayfish, that kind of demonstrate what I can do, both in terms of just being willing to get dirty, and in terms of the background knowledge that I can summon to this program's disposal. Anyway, when it comes to getting older, I want you to remember, you can have a subtle, non-changing, dark, stable environment, just like a cave crayfish, or, if you're interested in getting older properly, you can watch me on the Discovery Channel. My name's Inigo Howlett, and you're with me today in Tidewater, Virginia, where we're going to be looking at some crayfish. Why crayfish? Well, first of all, because they have pinchers. They're ferocious and dangerous when cornered. Second of all, they're fairly readily, commonly available throughout the southeastern United States, despite their bizarre genetic diversity. And third, because the difference between them and humans creates interesting insights into the way aging processes affect both species. Anyway, if you'll come with me, we're going to head on into the swamp. And this is where they live. Of course, they burrow down to the water table, which isn't that deep at this point. But here, of course, is where the going gets rough. You know, when you go in after them, they don't like that. Makes them crabby. So, you have to be prepared for a little bit of a nip. Ooh, hello. Yep. Now, psychologically speaking, the first, 6 inches is the hardest. Once you're up to your elbow, you're really just in hunt mode. Well, it's not a dry hole, but I don't think we got anybody in here. There are two fundamental types of crayfish, primary burrowers and secondary burrowers. Primary burrowers almost never come out and are usually found high and away from water. Now this guy is a secondary burrower, and hopefully for him, he's got a secondary burrow someplace else. Now, experts in the field tell me that this method of looking for crayfish is 100% destructive to the burrow, and only about 40% successful in finding crayfish. I beg to differ. It's only about 20. Okay. Alright. There we go. Sometimes they're extremely angry when you grab a hold of them, and sometimes they're just rather torpid. Let me clean him up a little. Alright. There we go. Oh, look at that. Hey, this is a very irritated Ornectes rusticus. I know this because it's a first form male, and if you get underneath them, this is not how the pros do it, get underneath them, find the first form male gonopods, that's their crayfish man junk, you'll find that they've got these little tendrils that are pretty distinctive of the genus. And going by the fact that he's got these little kind of reddish coloration and these fairly heavy claws, this is probably the rusty crayfish. Crayfish in general don't live that long, usually about 3 years. And their first year is extremely rough. They have to molt several times. Each molting is extremely dangerous. They're likely to die in the process of growing larger. Anyhow, the longest lived crayfish on Earth is the Tennessee cave crayfish, which, being pale and living in an extremely stable environment, can live up to about 10 years. In terms of telling their age, size is the only real indicator, and I would say this one's probably about 2 years old. Anyway, we're going to put him back before he gets even angrier, and I'll show you a couple other things I landed a hold of. Alright, in the process of putting this together and going crayfish hunting, mud bugging, came across a couple other interesting things. This guy here is a nice salamander. We'll get some close-ups in a minute. It's not in the Eft stage. Efts are juvenile salamanders, usually plain-toned. Oh yeah, there we go, exploring our new environment. It's been a little rough on you today, hasn't it, my friend? These guys have a tough time of it. Just about everything wants to eat them. And probably the only thing that hasn't been after him today.